Hello and welcome to Dukevember, True Grit. Meant to get this video out sooner. I've just not been sleeping this week. It's a revenge story at its core. Maddie Ross, played by Kim Darby, her father is killed by a man the family employs, and she wants to hire a U.S. Marshal to track him down to have him hung for the crime. Enter John Wayne, Rooster Cogburn. This is the role that finally won John Wayne an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Something that was long overdue. I've heard some people say John Wayne wasn't a good actor. He just played John Wayne, and yeah, he played a certain archetype a lot. But when you look at the films where he steps away from that archetype, it's where he really shines, and in a lot of ways, he does step away from that archetype because Rooster Cogburn isn't the pure hero. He's a shoot first, ask questions later U.S. Marshal, and he's one mishandled shooting away from being an outlaw himself, pretty much. It's something that's great about the character. Plus, the character was an outlaw at one time. He robbed a bank. In addition to the cast, we also have Glenn Campbell as a Texas Ranger LaBeef, after the same man that Kim Darby's once put away because he killed a senator in Texas. And the great Robert Duvall is Lucky Ned Pepper with the messed up lower lip. Great movie. Again, one of John Wayne's best. And after reviewing Pacific Rim Downfall, nice to be talking about a movie I like. Now again, I am very sleepy, so my thoughts are going to be more than scattered. A little scattered, so I apologize that this isn't my best review. The movie is set in Fort Smith, Arkansas, but it was filmed around the Rocky Mountains. Granted, the scenery doesn't match where it was filmed, but it was shot so beautifully and so perfectly that it's one of those things you're willing to forgive it and go along for the ride. In the three leads, in Kim Darby as Maddie Ross, John Wayne as Rooster Cogburn, and Glenn Campbell as LaBeef, they have such great chemistry together. John Wayne lives with this Chinese guy that owns a store. When he introduces Maddie Ross to them, he goes, "This is my uncle, Chin Lee, and this is my nephew to this big cat they have, General Sterling Price." When we first get to meet John Wayne, he's actually at court and he's giving a testimony of people he brought in, and he has... And this scene is kind of timely by today's standards because of the debate of criminals' rights versus victim rights. John Wayne's having to testify at court about the criminals he shot and killed in the attempt to apprehend them, and after pushed, he gets a little mad, and he even admits that because one of the other marshals was killed in the process. I was proud to tell this marshal's widow I shot the man that killed her husband. And it was a great scene. It does bring up questions about how should we treat criminal rights versus victim rights in that scene. Now, Kim Darby, I can't say enough good things of. Much like how I said that John Wayne didn't have the best role in Rio Bravo, Dean Martin did, Kim Darby had the best role in True Grit. As small as she is, there's several scenes in this where she stands up to Rooster Cogburn and puts him in his place. And it shows how great of an actress she is, because not just anyone could have believably done that and put John Wayne in his place like that. Now, when they eventually go into the Indian Territory to retrieve Ned Wait, I want to talk a little bit about her character. She's the financial head of the family. She keeps the records, even though her father, they have a ranch, even though her father runs the business, she's the bookkeeper, and she keeps things to a T, and she's extremely business-minded, savvy to a fault, where she'll be insulting without necessarily intending to, like when she gets to the boarding house she finds because there was a hanging, and that's where she decides that she wants to have Cheney pursued. That she's sharing a bed with someone, and well, if I'm sharing a bed, I guess my rent will be half. And this also has her best scene in the film, because in the hotel owner, I like the way the boarding house owner, she plays it, she's angry but yet sympathetic and understanding, because there's a scene after she leaves, after giving Kim Darby her father's stuff, she just takes what she has and she closes her eyes and she's just silently crying, and it's a real dramatic, emotional scene, and that's what gives her the strength to go through for the rest of the movie, to stand up to John Wayne and Glen Campbell. It's going to be done my way. He's going to go down for killing my father. And the other scene about the business savviness is at Glen Campbell's introduction. They're having chicken and dumplings, which I love this line. "Watch out for the chicken and dumplings, they'll hurt your eyes." How's that? Trying to find the chicken. But the one that owns the boarding house, she offers Maddie Ross more, and she goes, "At the rate of 25 cents per meal, I might just as well." And she, like, "I thought you was enjoying the chicken and dumplings. I can't see 25 cents going into a little flour and grease." And it's this thing again. She's not deliberately that insulting, but she's just financially business savvy, and she's always crunching the numbers in her head and working it out and threatening people with her lawyer, J. Noble Daggett. Great payoff at the end with that. The scene where her father was going to buy horses. She sells them back to the guy he brought them from and makes a profit. Then she buys a horse from him the next day, cheaper than what she sold it to him for. I just love this character. She is so great, so well written, so tough, and you wouldn't think that little package could have that much fight in her. Now, eventually, I'm not going to say a lot, because again, I want you to see the movie for yourself, and I'm running out of time here, but we get a scene where Maddie gets captured by Tom Cheney. She has her father's revolver, a Colts Dragoon. She shoots it and the backfire knocks her back. Cheney winds up with a broken rib, and she winds up in the clutches of the Lucky Ned Pepper gang. Lucky Ned Pepper, I believe, served in the war under Captain Quantrell with John Wayne. Civil War. And they do have a history. And there's a back and forth, and John Wayne agrees to ride into the sunset so they'd let Maddie go. Unfortunately, they leave her with Cheney. Glen Campbell manages to save her from Cheney, but he's not out. There's this pit with snakes in it, and then we get the great scene where John Wayne confronts the Ned Pepper gang, puts the reins of the horse in his mouth, which they set up in an earlier scene, holds his revolver in one hand, his Winchester in the other, and just goes at them, shooting them. His horse gets shot. Glen Campbell gets bashed in the head with a rock. And Maddie winds up falling in the pit. Glen Campbell John Wayne, I believe it was, kills Cheney. She gets bit by a rattlesnake, which is more her fault because she should have stayed still in the pit. Instead, she was pulling around, and when she sees the snake, she's hitting it with a bush. John Wayne saves the gun, but he doesn't get the father's other coin that was fell in the well. Glenn Campbell pulls them out and dies, and John Wayne rushes her to get to safety. The horse dies. He sees a wagon, pulls his gun, tells the people to throw the stuff in the water. He gets her to a doctor. In the next scene, we meet lawyer J. Noble Daggett, who, as Glenn Campbell said, she draws him like a gun. Great lines in this. And anyway, when John Wayne hears it's lawyer Daggett, he's like, You're not exactly what we expected. What I'm trying to say is you shrunk. And he gives John Wayne the rest of the payment plus an additional money for saving Maddie Ross, and also the request that she accompany her back home. Now, the final scene, she shows Rooster Cogburn the family plot, and she's like, I'd like you to have the grave next to me. She goes, you haven't got no family. I don't count Chin Lee and the cat. And I don't want you to wind up in some neglected patch of weeds. And he's like, well, fine, but don't get offended if I don't move in too soon. And this scene is simply gorgeous and beautiful. The hills and everything, it's covered in snow. Legend has it they shot the film the day before, but when they got up that day and seen the snow, they knew they just had to do it again. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, they made the right decision to refilm it because of how beautiful that scene is. Now, one more line I want to quote in this movie. John Wayne talked about Ned Pepper having the messed up lower lip. I'm paraphrasing it, but you'll get the gist. Messed up lower lip? Yeah, I shot him. In the lower lip? What was you aiming for? His upper lip. Yeah, Ned was lucky that day. My shooting was off. So, this film, a solid A minus, somewhere around there. Even though, yeah, John Wayne deserved the Oscar for it, it's not quite the A plus material, but it's up there, so that's True Grit. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna try and get some sleep. Over and out.